things.
Yeah.
When they want to try, look, even for me personally, my character, they would try to attack my character. They'll say he a rat or he this and that.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is ask him who I told on.
Paperwork.
I ain't never told on no in my life.
Yeah.
It pisses me off because let me explain why. The government stopped me from making the money. When the government came in, at that time, Murder Inc. was doing like over $100 million in billing for like 2 years in a row. As soon as they raided me, they sent a letter to the Universal Music Group, said if you give Irving Renzo $1, you're gonna be his co-defendants.
So they held
Because you gave him that money, of which he's helping this drug.
Among the labels that dominated hip-hop in the early 2000s were Ja Rule and Murder Inc. However, the empire was destroyed by a leaked video, a high-profile rivalry with 50 Cent, and a federal probe. What exactly was the purpose of this leaked video, and how did it come to light so quickly?
Also big on our side, on their side. And as everything started to crumble for us, as far as we didn't have a label as a home anymore, you understand? There was a lot of things that were falling apart for us. It was easy for him to get people to turn on.
Bulldoze.
Right. And there was things that were behind the scenes that y'all don't see that also made us seem more irrelevant, you know?
Among the labels that dominated hip-hop in the early 2000s were Ja Rule and Murder Inc. However, the empire was destroyed by a leaked video, a high-profile rivalry with 50 Cent, and a federal probe. What exactly was the purpose of this leaked video, and how did it come to light so quickly?
A huge label, not just in the United States of America.
international.
What people need to realize is when we did that record on Real with J-Lo, I don't know if they was well aware, but Sony's international machine was amazing. So that I'm Real record was not just #1 here, it was #1 in every country.
However, below all of that achievement, significant issues were accumulating. Federal officials swept through Murder Inc. officers in January 2003, seizing laptops and going through financial documents. It was the result of a 3-year investigation by the IRS, FBI, and NYPD Blue. They think Supreme used his friends, Irv Gotti and his brother Chris Lorenzo, to launder his cocaine money while also funding Murder Inc.
Essentially, illegal money coming from Supreme. Is that accurate?
That's accurate as far as what?
As far as what you were charged with.
As far as what they tried to say, but
Right.
they changed all those charges. That's not true.
The feds come in
Right.
and start raiding Murder Inc. offices, which are in the Def Jam section.
Yeah, in the Worldwide Plaza.
In the
It's
Worldwide
a
Plaza.
Unexpected video that ruined Ja Rule. The Supreme Team, a crack empire that made around $200,000 a day at its height in the 1980s, is founded by Kenneth Supreme McGriff, who is presently serving a life sentence in prison before Ivati entered the music industry. He was already well known in the streets. Supreme and Irv have a long history together before they ever considered working together in the music industry. Additionally, Supreme took Ja under his wing when he later entered the picture.
From way back.
Me and Supreme began our friendship around like 92, 93.
And
So we've been friends for probably 10 years before this.
I'm Supreme in the house. What up? You know, whole Murder Inc. family in the smoke.
At last, the trial began in late 2005. It was a significant moment for hip-hop as well as for Murder Inc. Prominent figures such as Russell Simmons and Jay-Z appeared in court to express their support. After years of the case dragging on, it was time to see how it all turned out. The jury returned with a not guilty verdict following weeks of deliberation, witness testimony, and mountains of evidence. The brothers were immediately exonerated of all money laundering accusations. This is where the myth of the invisible video enters the picture. Videotape evidence was mentioned in court records, but it wasn't a covert clip of Jewel breaking the law. In fact, the video links Supreme to 2 different violent crimes. He was connected to the 2001 murder of Queen Street's famous MC Eric Honeybag Smith in one of those videos.
Baltimore had Supreme's stuff in it, and amongst his items that he had in the stash house was a videotape, and the videotape was a woman filming out of a house saying, "Hurry up, get here, he's on his way." And we put it together. The news, you could hear the news in the background. We put it together. If you timestamp the news to the time the 911 calls and everything else, that this
Supreme was ultimately charged with e-monies, death, as well as other offenses. Here's the important part, though. No one was ever charged in that case, including Jay Irv or anyone from Murder, Inc. The damage was severe just because of the connection to the criminal.
Supreme in, and then he felt that he was protection for them, so he was going to go do it. Whatever the reason was.
After the legal scandal, Murder, Inc. had to change their brand, but naturally, they were still unable to regain the magic they had in the early 2000s, especially considering that V and his artists were often at odds. Furthermore, there was already a significant issue with Ja Rule and Murder, Inc. before the entire Feds incident. 50 Cent is the name of the problem. It's one of the most talked about topics in hip-hop history is their feud, which is still going strong today, and the full effect of it was felt by Ja Rule and the entire cast of Murder, Inc., particularly since it had an impact on the entire commercial aspect of it.
Things that were behind the scenes that y'all don't see that also made us seem more irrelevant. You know, like we couldn't go to award shows. They would make calls like, well, if Murder Inc. is in the building, they're not gonna perform this year. M's not gonna perform. So we would get calls from MTV. Much love, shout out to MTV. Or we get calls from BET. Shout out to BET. That yo, we love you guys, but guys, they're doing their thing this year, and we don't want y'all in the building.
When Rue was robbed in Queens at gunpoint in 1999, the Jay and 50 Cent beat began. Shortly thereafter, he witnessed 50 hangings with the perpetrator. Or that's what 50 Cent said anyway. The tension began with that. However, Jay disputed it, stating that the true problem was that 50 Cent was quite upset about being excluded from a video shoot for Murder, Inc. That same year, the two rappers would engage in their first actual altercation in a bar in Atlanta, during which punches would be thrown and chains would be grabbed. Things became much more serious by the early 2000s. Outside his grandmother's house, 50 was shot 9 times. He was then stabbed in the Hit Factory studio shortly after. In an event connected to members of Murder, Inc., given their past, it is not surprising that some in their immediate vicinity began to believe that 50 was involved in some of the legal actions taken against Murder, Inc. and Supreme.
I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
But, if you talk to me about 50...
Yep. Hop has long been rife with rumors that 50 Cent is a snitch. Some people accuse him of dry snitching in his song Ghetto Koran, in which he name-drops a number of New York street legends. Many people were offended when he presented street history as though it were a police report. Though not all 50 Cent agreed. One of them was Supreme. He believes that the record's impact and the claims that he was the snitch are overblown.
He didn't say nothing. He didn't have a problem with the record. Then he had a problem later when law enforcement started to hold on to the record. And they're not holding the record because of what I said. Because they already got a separate homicide that you're sitting in here on. They already got your tapes and the dope that you got caught with in Baltimore. So what they're really holding you to is the fact that I didn't say nothing when I got hit. So they're saying he's associated to this thing with this kid, and this is why they keep bringing that into this actual case. Remember all of the snitch, you a snitch, you this is now. Yeah. That's the worst thing you can be in the environment that I come up in, right? Where the snitch at in the documentary? I'm not.
Quran has been dismissed by some fans as merely narrative. Others have long believed that 50 is a complete snitch, namely Jeru and Irv Gotti, even though he has often refuted the snitch accusations. It doesn't help that 50 Cent severely ridiculed Murder, Inc. in 2021 by tweeting, "Put the whole label out of business." What did he mean by that tweet then? It's considered a classic 50 by some. Petty, loud, and calculating. However, people in the Gotti camp perceive these kinds of shenanigans for what they perceive them to be. 50 doesn't give a damn about what the Murder, Inc. team thinks. He has always taken advantage of the chance to pursue them. Therefore, it wasn't particularly surprising that Gotti didn't hold back when he passed away in February 2025. 50 immediately took to Instagram to share a picture of himself standing before a plastic gravestone, writing, "I'm smoking on that Gotti pack." The post was perceived by some as being below-the-belt behavior, but for 50 was the final outburst of years of hostility, disdain, and ingrained hatred. Later, in an interview on The Breakfast Club, Zhao talked candidly about the post. He acknowledged that he nearly lost it when he saw the message. He claimed that out of respect for Supreme, he restrained himself from going all out on the 50 at that moment.
I'm like,
How do you feel about that when you saw it?
nobody likes all this goofy shit, but it's goofy shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm not, you know, Preem said it best. You know, I spoke to Preem the other day. Preem has always got the right words. Because I was hot. You know what I'm saying? I was hot. I was ready to go nuclear and shit. But, I said, so I spoke to Preem anyway. And Preem said, he said, Rule, he said, here's what you got to understand about who we are.
When 50 Cent learned about the interview, he immediately retaliated on Instagram, posting that The Breakfast Club should be ashamed of themselves for asking questions that encourage violence. He then poked fun at the position, saying that this idiot has been preparing to go nuclear for 22 years. Let's laugh aloud. Right now, your boyfriend is in my runs. This time, Ja Rule wasn't holding back. In a series of irate tweets, he took 2x and pointed directly at 50 Cent, making snitch charges the main focus. He accused him of posing as a street man and lurking behind the police, calling him a rat. Ja posted what he said in order to make his point. Was authentic documentation demonstrating that 50 Cent had collaborated with law enforcement to get a protective order against Murder, Inc., although Ja's claims received some attention on social media. Renowned hip-hop lawyer Bradford Cohen, who has represented Lil Wayne, Drake, and Kodak Black, finally put an end to them. Cohen convincingly debunked the entire situation in a thorough Instagram post by dissecting the documents Josh gave and pointing out flaws in the assertions. Given how swiftly that chapter concluded, it's just another brief round of the beef. That won't be ending anytime soon. The so-called unseen footage has yet to come to light or circulate, which is more of a fiction than a fact in the grand scheme of things. The actual Harm the Probe, frozen accounts, and constant media coverage of unrelated topics were detrimental to Rue's career. Indeed, your boy 50 Cent magnified everything, maintaining the focus on Jay when he was at his lowest and transforming their dispute into something that influenced how people perceive them both. And there concludes another Rap Rewind episode, folks. Do me a favor then. Please share your thoughts about the story in the comment box. Subscribe, like, and share it. Hope you have peace and blessings until we meet again.